on my birthday, in my house, without inviting me. I used to think the worst thing about growing older was being forgotten. I was wrong. It's realizing they remembered and still chose to leave you out. My name is Helen Carter. I turned 64 last Thursday, and this is the story of how I found out that my family didn't forget me. They excluded me, and how, for the first time in my life, I decided not to wait for them to change. I changed the story instead. I spent the morning folding laundry, not because there was much to fold, but because it gave my hands something to do. The silence in this house used to be rare and beautiful. Now it hangs like fog. It was my birthday. I had bought myself a small lemon pie the night before. The bakery lady asked if it was for a celebration. I smiled and lied. Just a treat. There was no call, no knock at the door. Even the dog I used to have, Max, would have barked by now. But Max is gone, and the only sound in this house was the refrigerator humming. I sat down in the kitchen with a cup of lukewarm tea, staring at a plastic fork stuck in that store-bought pie. And then, like a fool, I opened Facebook. There it was, a photo of my granddaughter's birthday party, gold balloons, a long table set outside, big smiles from Rachel, my daughter, Ben, my son, even Paul, Rachel's ex-husband, was there, and Ava, my sweet Ava, turning 11. The caption said, "So grateful for family. Ava's special day." I froze. April 11th. Ava and I share the same birthday. No one had even sent me a happy birthday, but somehow they all found time to gather at my house without me. I scrolled through the comments. One from Ava said, "Wish Grandma could have come." Someone replied, "She said she was busy." Busy? I hadn't been invited. I closed my laptop so fast I nearly knocked over the tea. My hands were shaking. But not from anger, from the kind of ache you get when you realize you were erased quietly. That night, I walked through this house like a ghost. The hallway with framed photos, Rachel's high school graduation, Ben's piano recital, Ava as a toddler. I had hung everyone, but now every photo stared back at me like a stranger. And for the first time, I saw it. This wasn't about being forgotten. It was about being replaced, pushed out gently, silently, like old wallpaper someone's tired of looking at. I didn't cry. Tears would have made it feel personal. But this felt like a decision they'd made a while ago. They just hadn't told me yet. I used to believe that family was forever. Now, I wonder if it's just a contract we keep renewing until someone forgets to send you the new terms. And somehow, they forgot to send mine. The day after my birthday, I woke up before sunrise. It wasn't the usual kind of waking, the kind where your body stirs gently. No, this one was sharp, sudden, like the moment you realize you left the stove on. My chest still carried the sting from yesterday, from watching Ava blow out candles on a screen while I sat in silence in the same house. I sat on the edge of the bed, my feet finding the cool, hardwood floor. The house was still. No footsteps upstairs, no cartoons playing in the background, just the faint sound of wind brushing the windows. I made myself some coffee, strong, no sugar. I used to drink it light and sweet, but somehow over the years it had become more like medicine than comfort. I stood by the window and watched the light slowly touch the edge of the backyard. This house had seen 31 birthdays. Not just mine, but Rachel's, Ben's, Ava's, even Paul's back when he was still family. I never thought I'd be standing here wondering how I became the stranger in it. The phone rang. I nearly dropped my mug. It was Rachel. "Hi, Mom," she said, too cheerfully. That tone, the one she uses when she's trying to sell something. I waited. Sometimes silence is louder than confrontation. "So, I was just thinking," she continued. "You know, with the house being so big and all." There it was. Ben and I were talking, and we just thought maybe it's time we look at some options. Options. They never say the word directly. Retirement community, assisted living, downsizing. They dress it up with soft words and false smiles. And beneath it all, I could feel it. That quiet suggestion that I was a burden now. A delicate problem they wanted to solve without making a mess. You know, she went on, somewhere that's easier to manage, with community dinners, security, a pool. It could be fun. Fun. I took a breath. Let it sit. Rachel, I said calmly, what are you really asking? There was a pause. Then she laughed, nervous, brittle. Well, we just want what's best for you, Mom. I stared at the backyard. The treehouse Ben and I built when he was 12 still stood there, a little lopsided, but proud. You mean what's most convenient for you? I said, quietly. That's not fair, Rachel replied, her voice tightening. We just worry about you being here all alone. Alone. They weren't worried about me being alone when they threw Ava's party without me. If you find the deed, Rachel added quickly, just scan it. Ben knows someone who could do an appraisal. No pressure, just information. Just information. As if handing over the blueprint to my entire life was a formality. After we hung up, I didn't move for a long time. I stood there, coffee gone cold in my hand, staring out into a yard filled with my life. They had no idea what this house meant. Or maybe they did. And that was the problem. I spent the rest of the morning pulling out old files. There it was. The deed. My name. No co-owners. Paid in full 12 years ago. Untouchable. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at it. They thought they were planning ahead, but I was already one step ahead of them. I picked up the phone. I dialed Linda. She answered on the second ring. Hey, stranger, she said, warmth in her voice. You busy? I asked. For you? Never. I need your help, I said. There was a pause. Then she said, do I need to bring wine or documents? Both, I said, and we laughed. Linda arrived less than an hour later. Calling her wasn't just a decision. It was the only thing that made sense after the call with Rachel. I needed someone who still saw me as whole. She always brought this comforting chaos with her. Purse too full, hair slightly windblown, energy that filled up quiet rooms. She looked at me for a long moment before speaking. You look like you're about to do something bold, she said. Maybe I am. I laid out the deed, the notes, the calendar marked with birthdays they no longer remembered. They want me to disappear, I said. Linda shook her head. Number they want to make it easy on themselves. That's different, but equally cruel. She flipped through the papers. You thinking of selling? Privately, quietly, on my own terms. Linda gave me a grin. Now that's the Helen I remember. We got to work. Calls were made, listings drafted, photos quietly taken. By sunset, I had a plan. And for the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe again. It's strange how quickly you can go from feeling powerless to holding all the cards. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table with a glass of wine. Not the sweet kind Linda likes, but a dry red that makes you think before you swallow. The folder with the deed rested in front of me. Open. Unapologetic. Next to it, Linda had left a printout of potential buyers. A few had already expressed interest. I stared at it for a long time, not with fear, but with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. This house had been mine long before it was ever ours. Before Ben ran down the hallway in socks. Before Rachel taped her college acceptance letter to the fridge. I had signed for the mortgage alone, paid it down while working late shifts, raised 2 kids in it, buried a dog in the yard, cried on the laundry room floor when my husband left, and kept going. The only thing I owed this house now was a proper goodbye, on my terms. 2 days later, Rachel texted, Family dinner, Sunday, at your place, let's talk. There was no question mark, no request, just a decision made. I replied, sure, 6 p.m., I'll cook. And then I prepared. Not just a meal, but the entire setting. The kitchen was spotless. The dining room looked like something out of a real estate brochure. Subtle, clean, deceptively warm. I made roast chicken, the way Ben used to love it. Mashed potatoes with real butter, a fresh salad, the kind of meal that says, everything's fine, even when it's not. Then, I did something I hadn't done in years. I wore makeup, just a little. Lipstick, powder, and a necklace my mother gave me when I turned 40. When they arrived, they were surprised. Not by the dinner, but by me. Rachel blinked. "You look nice, Mom." "Thank you," I said. "Dinner's ready." We sat, ate, made small talk about Ava's school, about weather, gas prices, nothing real. Then, the tone shifted. Ben cleared his throat and placed a folder on the table. "We've been researching some communities, Mom," Rachel chimed in. "Places that offer independence, but also support." I nodded, slicing into my chicken. "That's thoughtful." Ben opened the folder, showing glossy brochures, photos of smiling retirees, pools, bingo nights. "This one's just 20 minutes away," he said. "They do yoga." I looked at him, then at Rachel. "You've really thought this through." They nodded. "And when were you planning to ask me what I want?" Rachel flinched. Ben shifted in his seat. I leaned back. "Because it sounds like you've made plans for me, without me." Ben looked at the table. Rachel exhaled sharply. "We didn't mean to upset you." "You didn't upset me. You ignored me. There's a difference." Silence stretched. I stood, picked up the folder, and placed it on the buffet. Then I returned to my seat. "Thank you for the information. I'll consider it, but I also have some updates." Rachel looked up. "Updates?" I smiled. "I've listed the house." Ben frowned. "You... what?" "Quietly, privately. It's already shown to a few interested buyers." Rachel's voice rose. "Without telling us?" "Like you told me about Ava's party?" That shut them up. I looked at my children, my grown children, and said what I had rehearsed in the mirror. "You're not bad people, but you forgot something important. This house. It's not just walls and a roof. It's my story, my independence, my decision." Ben whispered, "Mom, we just didn't want you to be alone." I nodded. "Then maybe start showing up. Not with brochures, but with presents." They didn't argue. Dinner ended with dishes half-eaten and words left hanging. When they left, Rachel hugged me tight, tighter than she had in years. Ben simply said, "Keep us posted." I nodded, and then I locked the door.